Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 10, Prahlad, the best among exalted devotees, text 46 to 48. So I will read 46 and 7, and then we come to 48, which is here on the board. Ya etat punyam akyanam vishnurvir yopaprimhitam kirtayik shrataya shrutva karma pasair vimuchate. Translation: one who hears and chants this narration about the omnipotence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is certainly liberated from the material bondage without fail. And in text 47, Etatya adi purushasya mrigendra lilam Daityendra yuta pavadam prayata pateta Dhaityatmayasya chasatam pravashai punayam Shrutvanubhavam akuto vajam eti lokam. Translation: Prahlad Maharaj was the best among exalted devotees. Anyone who with great attention hears this narration concerning the activities of Prahlad Maharaj, the killing of Hiranyakashipu, and the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nrsimhadev, surely reaches the spiritual world where there is no anxiety. And then we come to today's text, 48. Yuyam nriloke bataburi bhaga Yuyam nriloke bataburi bhaga Lokam punana munayo biyanti Lokam punana munayo bihanyanti Yesham grihan avasatita sakshad Yesham grihan avasatita sakshad Gudam param brahma manushalingam Gudam param brahma manushalingam Yuyam nriloke bataburi bhaga Lokam punana munayo biyanti Yesham grihan avasatita sakshad Gudam param brahma manushalingam Yuyam nriloke pataburi bhaga Lokam punanaya munayanti Yesam grihanda vasati sakshat Gudam param brahma manushalingam Yuyam nriloke pataburi bhaga Lokam punanamunayo bihyanti Yesham griham avasatiti sakshat Gudam param brahma manushalinam Vaishnavis. Yuyam nriloke pataburi bhaga Lokam punanamunayo bhyanti Yesham griham avasatiti sakshat Gudam param brahma Yuyam nriloke pataburi bhaga Lokam punanamunayo bhyanti Yesham grihan avasatiti sakshat Gudam param brahma manushalinam Yuyam nriloke pataburi bhaga Lokam punanamunayo bhyanti Yesham grihan avasatiti sakshat Gudam param brahma manushalingam Yuyam. All of you, the Pandavas, Nriloke, within this material world, but however, Bhuri Bhaga, extremely fortunate, Lokam, all the planets, Punanaha, who can purify, Munaya, great saintly persons, Abhyanti, almost always come to visit, Yesham, of whom Grihan, the house, Avasati, resides in, Iti, thus, Sakshat, directly, Gudam, very confidential, Param Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Manushya-lingam, appearing just like a human being. Translation and purpose by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. Narada Muni continued, My dear Maharaj Yudhisthira, all of you, the Pandavas, are extremely fortunate, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, lives in your palace just like a human being. Great saintly persons know this very well, and therefore they constantly visit this house. Purport. After hearing about the activities of Prahlad Maharaj, a pure devotee should be very anxious to follow in his footsteps. But such a devotee might be disappointed, thinking that not every devotee can come to the standard of Prahlad Maharaj. This is the nature of a pure devotee. He always thinks himself to be the lowest, to be incompetent and unqualified. Thus, after hearing the narration of Prahlad Maharaj's activities, Maharaj Yudhisthira, who was on the same standard of devotional service as Prahlad, might have been thinking of his own humble position. Narada Muni, however, could understand Maharaj Yudhisthira's mind, and therefore he immediately encouraged him by saying that the Pandavas were not less fortunate. They were as good as Prahlad Maharaj, because although Lord Nrsimhadev appeared for Prahlad, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his original form as Krishna, was always living with the Pandavas. Although the Pandavas, because of the influence of Krishna's Yoga Maya, could not think of their fortunate position, every saintly person, including the great sage Narada, could understand it, and therefore they constantly visited Maharaj Yudhisthira. Any pure devotee who is constantly conscious of Krishna is naturally very fortunate. The word niriloke, meaning within the material world, indicates that before the Pandavas there had been many devotees, such as the descendants of the Yadu dynasty and Vashishta, Marichi, Kasyapa, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, who were all extremely fortunate. The Pandavas, however, were better than all of them because Krishna himself lived with them constantly. Narada Muni therefore specifically mentioned that within this material world, Nri Loke, the Pandavas were the most fortunate. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Niminitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kathamayam Dathati Svapadantikam Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pastyatyadi Satarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I read again the translation of text 46 to 48. One who hears and chants this narration about the omnipotence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is certainly liberated from the material bondage without fail. 47. Prahlad Maharaj was the best among exalted devotees. Anyone who with great attention hears this narration concerning the activities of Prahlad Maharaj, the killing of Hiranyakashipu, and the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nrsimhadev surely reaches the spiritual world where there is no anxiety. And then 48, Narada Muni continued, My dear Maharaj Yudhisthira, all of you, the Pandavas, are extremely fortunate, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, lives in your palace just like a human being. Great saintly persons know this very well, and therefore they constantly visit this house. So here in this text, which are the last few shlokas about the pastimes of Prahlad Nrsimhadev, we hear about the glories of Krishna Katha, the Shruti Phala, what we gain when we actually listen to this Prahlad Nrsimha Katha. So the importance or the glory of hearing is mentioned, especially in this text 46 and 7. So I'd like to, before we go to this shloka, I'd like to say a few words on the importance of hearing. Because it's quite amazing that just by hearing this pastime, one actually can go back to Godhead. Isn't it amazing? Just by hearing, one actually gets the blessing of going back to Godhead. So that hearing, in all the scriptures, also especially in the Bhagavatam, we find so many places where the process of hearing and chanting is glorified. So, for example, in Canto 1, chapter 7-8, it said, Yasyam vai shruyamanayam Krishne parama purushe bhaktir utpadayati pumsam shokamoha payapaha. Simply by giving oral reception to these Vedic literatures, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. Just by hearing, just by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, specifically Srimad Bhagavatam, love of God, bhakti, is actually awakened. Bhakti is already there, but it's awakened. And in the purport, Prabhupada gives a very interesting analogy. Prabhupada speaks that we have different senses, and the ear is the most effective sense, Prabhupada says. And he says that, while awake, we can, with different senses, we can defend ourselves if attacked. If someone attacks us, we can defend ourselves with different senses. But while asleep, it's only the ear who can protect us. Prabhupada says, the ear is the most effective. This sense works even when a man is asleep. One can protect himself from the hands of an enemy while awake, but while asleep, one is protected by the ear only. So in this way, Prabhupada points out that the ear has a very specific role, and especially in spiritual life. The importance of hearing is mentioned here in connection with attaining the highest perfection of life, namely developing this pure love of God, which is possible just by giving oral reception. And then later on, Prabhupada says that loving devotional service to Lord begins with hearing about the Lord. There is no difference between the Lord and the subject matter heard about Him. The Lord is absolute in all respects, and thus there is no difference between Him and the subject matter heard about Him. So when we hear about Prahlad Nrsimha, actually that hearing about Prahlad and about Nrsimhadev is non-different from Nrsimhadev, and in this way we directly associate with the Lord, and in this way we develop that love for Him. And in another purport, also in the first canto, Prabhupada points out that it's actually a very simple process. It's not a very magical or mystical thing. It's very simple. Someone speaks and others hear. And that process will be, it's potent enough to give us pure love of God. And then Prabhupada points out that in this age of Kali, there are some pseudo-gurus who advertise some other process. There is a type of spiritual master and disciple much advertised in the age of Kali. It is said that the master injects spiritual force into the disciple by electrical current generated by the master, and the disciple begins to feel the shock. He becomes unconscious, and the master weeps for his exhausting his store of so-called spiritual assets. So imagine the guru kind of gives you some electrical shock, and all of a sudden you're enlightened, and the guru starts to weep because he lost all his energy, all his power is given to the disciple. So this is not, and Prabhupada says, we do not find such folk tales in the dealings of Shukadev Goswami and his great disciple Maharaj Parikshit. We don't find this. No, it's not described that Shukadev is kind of giving some electrical shock to Parikshit. It's not there. No. The sage recited Srimad Bhagavatam in devotion, and the great king heard him properly. And that's all. And in this way, transcendental knowledge is transmitted. The king did not feel any shock of electrical current from the master, nor did he become unconscious while receiving knowledge from the master. No. Parikshit never became unconscious. No, for 7 days he very attentively was hearing. So then Prabhupada concludes this purport and says, the process is simple, but only the sincere party can achieve the desired result. So the process is very simple, but only those who are serious and sincere, they will get the benefit. So when it says that just by hearing the narration of Prahlad and Nrsimhadev, one can go back to Godhead, so that blessing is there, but we also have to do our part. We have to be sincere and speak and hear sincerely. And then that Shruti follow is there. So maybe we can reflect what is actually the qualification of a speaker, a bona fide speaker. Someone can tell what are qualification of a speaker? He comes in the line of Guru Parampara, yes, that's a very important one. He has heard from the proper source himself, and that's why he's able to speak. Mm-hmm. All right, he practiced what he speaks. We know this pastime with the mother who wants to bring the boy to sadhu. Tell my son he should not take sweets. And the sadhu says, come after 1 week. And after 1 week the sadhu says, don't eat sweets. The mother, why did you tell already a week before? Well, I ate sweets myself. So only if one practice what he speaks, then that speaking has potency, otherwise not. Mm-hmm. He doesn't add anything, right? Yes. Subtracts, yes. He just delivers the message as he has heard it. You know. And of course, a speaker might also include his own personal realization. That's there. But that realization, the essence of the Siddhanta will not be covered by that. You know. He just gives what he has heard, right? Mm-hmm. In a humble state of mind, yes. As soon as the speaker thinks, oh, I'm a great learned, or I'm a great speaker, then everything is spoiled. Actually, the speaker, just like if you open a water tap, the water flows. So the speaker is just like a pipe, a water pipe. The water actually comes from a source, and the pipe just turns into water, you know. So a speaker just sees himself like that. Yeah. All right. And what is the qualification of the hearer, the listener? What do they? Submissive. Yeah. Even if they have some question, they should not challenge the speaker. Please don't challenge. So that's a good thing. Yeah. He not just listen and it goes in here and goes out there, but actually he tries to absorb. He tries to actually practice what he has heard. Okay, that's very good. Yeah. Yeah. So these are some qualities of a listener also, and he should be very eager to hear. No. Shrinvata swakata Krishna. It says that those who have developed an urge to hear, then the Lord will purify the heart. So that urge, desire to hear should be there. Eagerness. And yes, also humility for both, for the speaker and the hearer. Because if I come to the Bhagavatam class and I say, oh, again, I'm not this body. I have heard this so many times. Can he not speak about something else? No. So that's a challenge if we come for many years to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. And then a listener actually should always feel like, oh, let me hear, let me try to learn something without this challenging mood. Jai Shri Radha Shyama Sundar ki jai, Krishna Balarama ki jai, Shri Gaunitai ki jai. So these are some points on this hearing, as it says here, that anyone who with great attention hears this narration concerning the activities of Prahlad Maharaj, he will actually go back to Godhead with attention. So that's some point on this. And then text 48 now describes how Yudhisthira Maharaj, after hearing the glories of Prahlad, he kind of felt, Prahlad is so fortunate. The Lord appeared to protect him, but I'm not so fortunate. And Vishnavad Chakravarti Thakur kind of paraphrased this in his commentary. He says, "O Prahlad was fortunate to see the Lord, but we, the Pandavas, we are not fortunate." In this way, Yudhisthira lamented. But Narada Muni replies, and that's this text, Narada replies in this text 48, he says, "You are more fortunate than Prahlad, than me, his guru, than other devotees, than previous members of our dynasty like Yadu and Puru, than the sages like Vasishta, Marichi, and Kasyapa, and then Brahma and Shiva. You are most fortunate among all Jivas. The sages who purify the planet by showing themselves come to your house to make themselves successful, because secretly taking the human form, the Para-Brahman always resides in your house, without your calling him, because he is attracted to you. So Krishna himself, he lives at your palace, and he comes there without calling him, because he is attracted by your devotion." And then Vishnu Chakravarti says that he does not personally live in a human form in the house of Prahlad. Because in the Prahlad case, the Lord didn't come as a human, he came as a half-lion, half-man, and he didn't live there. He just appeared, killed Hiranyakashipu with the demons, and then he left. But in the case of the Pandavas, actually Yudhisthira, Krishna stayed with the Pandavas for so long time. So in this way, in this text, Narada Muni tells Yudhisthira, no, actually, you're most fortunate. You're most fortunate. But Srila Prabhupada, in a purport, makes the point that Yudhisthira, he felt he's not so fortunate. And this is the nature of a pure devotee, Prabhupada says. He always thinks himself to be lowest, to be incompetent and unqualified. That's like very natural for a pure devotee to feel like that. And when we hear to the prayers of the previous acharyas, we often hear this expression, "Oh, I'm so fallen, I'm lower than the worm in the stool," all these kind of statements. And sometimes for us it's quite, at least from myself, quite difficult to understand. How is it that these great personalities have such feelings? Like usually when we speak about this topic, I remember this song from Bhakti-yoga Thakur, Amara Jivana. It's very famous from Sharanagati, where Bhakti-yoga Thakur, in a very amazing way, speaks about himself. I'm sure many of you know the song, maybe just a few shlokas from it. Bhakti-yoga Thakur is saying, he's taking a humble position and admitting that I am an impious sinner and I have caused other great anxiety and trouble, Bhakti-yoga Thakur says. And he says, I have never hesitated to perform a sinful act for my own enjoyment, devoid of all compassion, concerned only with my own selfish interests. I am remorseful seeing others happy. I'm a perpetual liar, and the misery of others is a source of great pleasure for me. So, that's how is that possible? And we understand that sometimes we say, well, these great personalities, they take the role of a conditioned soul to teach us. Because that's the consciousness of a conditioned soul, that when others are happy, then it's very painful for me, and if others suffer, then I become happy. That's like the consciousness of a conditioned soul. But Bhakti-yoga Thakur says that I feel like this. And okay, we can say that they they want to teach us, but the most amazing thing is that they actually feel like this. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing this, he actually feels that. And that's, at least for me, it's very difficult to take. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes on, he says, ruined by laziness and sleep, I resist all pious deeds, yet I'm very active and enthusiastic to perform wicked acts. For worldly fame and reputation, I engage in the practice of deceitfulness. Thus I'm destroyed by my own greed. And so on, he goes on and describes all kind of bad qualities. And then at the end, he says, now in old age, deprived of all means of success, humbled and poor, Bhaktivinoda submits this tale of grief at the feet of the Supreme Lord. So, how to understand that these personalities express such an extent of humility? An example is given, like, I don't know, who of you has ever prepared ghee yourself? Who has done ghee? Not so many, some of you. So you take butter, you boil it, and then all the impurities, they come out, and then you take the impurities off, and after some time you get clarified butter, you get very pure, you get ghee at the end, right? So, but even when ghee is already, its ghee has manifested, all the impurities have been taken away, at some point there may be a little bubble comes up, a little bit impurity come up. And this is compared to the consciousness of such pure devotees. Actually they are pure. Technically speaking, they are completely pure. But then from time to time maybe a little bubble comes up and immediately, oh, I'm so fallen. That's kind of the mood. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's very pure, but still he kind of feels like that. So, and Yudhisthira Maharaj, of course, he was such a personality who was extremely exalted, but extremely humble at the same time. And it is described just like a tree who has a lot of fruits. Because of so many fruits, actually the branches, they bow down. And because someone has so many wonderful qualities, he naturally becomes humble. Or like a Chinese proverb says that, be like a bamboo, the higher you grow, the deeper you bow. Well, that's like the understanding. The higher you go, the more qualities you develop, actually naturally you should be humble. And from Mahabharata we know this one story. It's also, I guess most of you know the story of how Yudhisthira Maharaj and Duryodhan, they got a task. I think it was from Dronacharya. I think Dronacharya gave them the task, you should go out, and he told to Yudhisthira, you should find someone who is more advanced than you. And Yudhisthira went and was searching, and then he told to lower, yeah, you should find someone who is lower than you, and then he told to Duryodhan, find someone who is more advanced than you. And at the end of the day, both came back and said, sorry, we didn't find anyone. Because Duryodhan, wherever he looked, he was so convinced about himself, he felt, I'm so great, so he could not see any good qualities in others. He could not see that someone actually possesses something more than himself. And Yudhisthira, on the other side, he was so humble, although he was so qualified, whenever he saw someone else, he found some unique quality, so that he felt, wow, this person actually is so wonderful. So that's the attitude of personalities like Yudhisthira, and therefore, actually that's why Yudhisthira, he was able to appreciate Prahlad's greatness. He was so impressed by Prahlad's glory that he at some point felt like, Prahlad is so fortunate, but I'm unfortunate. And then Narada Muni speaks this text from today and says, no, actually, you're most fortunate. So this text, the topic is fortune. So we can ask ourselves, what can we learn from that? Or in other words, what does it actually mean to be fortunate? I don't know. Some of you what do you think? What does it mean to be fortunate? That the Supreme Personality of God lives in your house. That's the case of the Pandavas. But yeah, that's a good point. If you live at a temple, Krishna also lives in your house. Or if you're Grihastha and you make your home a temple and you have wonderful deities which you worship, Krishna is in the center of your life, then actually Krishna also lives in your house, and in this way you're also fortunate. Okay, that's a very nice point. Okay. If our hearts becomes free from material desires, then actually we are fortunate. Okay, that's very beautiful, yeah? Thank you. If we have association with the devotees, that's our good fortune, yeah? When we meet a spiritual master, right? Yes, and that's actually. Thank you very much. That's actually how the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita defines good fortune. In this text here we have Bhuri Bhaga, very fortunate. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita we find this word Bhagyavan Shiva, no? Famous Brahmananda Brahmite Kona Bhagavan Shiva, Guru Krishna Prasada Bhai, Bhakti Lata Bicha. And in this text it's described how, according to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate, Bhagyavan Shiva, gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. So just the other day we heard, I think from Gopal Prabhu, how we are wandering through the different species of life. If you think about that, we have gone through so many different species of life already. So we understand to receive a human body is actually we are very fortunate just for that. But then even being a human being and then getting in contact with a spiritual master, this is real fortune. And also in Chaitanya Bhagavat is described that actually the spiritual master and Krishna, they're our real father, our real mother, our real friend, our real asset, our real the essence of our life. Because in so many lives, we have father and mother, isn't it? In so many lives, in every life, in every birth we take, we have a father and a mother. Even if we take birth as a cat, a dog, or a monkey, like in Vrindavan there are so many monkeys, you see the mother monkeys who protect their child. So in every birth we take, we always have a father and we have a mother. That's quite natural. But in that life, in which we get a guru, then we are really fortunate. And that's why guru is actually our real father and mother. And so if we get a chance to meet such a spiritual master, then we are fortunate. And such a spiritual master is not an ordinary personality. Actually, Krishna himself comes in the form of a spiritual master to deliver us. And that's also described beautifully in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There it says in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 1:45, Guru Krishna Rupahana Shastrena Pramane Guru Rupa Krishna Kripaha Karina Bhaktagane Jiva Sakshat Naitate Guru Chaitya Rupe Shiksha Guru Hoya Krishna Mahanta Swarupe. according to the deliberate opinion of all revealed scriptures, the spiritual master is none different from Krishna. Lord Krishna, in the form of the spiritual master, delivers his devotees. And it says, Jive Sakshatnai, we are not able to directly see, since one cannot visually experience the presence of the Supersoul. No. We know that the Lord is present in our heart as Paramatma, but can you see Paramatma? I mean, unless you're Hanuman and you're kind of open, there is Sitaram there, but usually we are not able to see Paramatma. So because we cannot see Paramatma, he, the Paramatma, appears before us as a liberated devotee. Such a spiritual master is no one other than Krishna himself, who comes to instruct us. So Krishna is very eager actually to bring us back to the spiritual world, so he instructs us from within, and if we become really serious, then he also instructs us from without. And once, Prabhupada in a conversation, someone asked, is this very difficult to find Guru? Quite, the person sits in front of Prabhupada and says, oh yeah, but it's very difficult to find Guru. And then Prabhupada says, no, it's not difficult. The difficulty is with you. No? Because Krishna sits in your heart as Chaitya Guru, and he directs, and then Prabhupada quotes, this is the Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hirdhesha Tuna Tishtati Pramayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudhani that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated in the heart of everyone, and he kind of directs all the living beings who are just like situated just on a machine. So that means that according to our desire, the Lord gives direction. So if we want to enjoy, then Krishna also gives direction how to do that. But if we actually develop a true desire to go back to Godhead, then Krishna from within, he will guide us how to find the Guru. So there is no difficulty. The difficulty is with us if we don't develop the strong desire. And if we meditate about it, that the spiritual master is like Paramatma assuming a body in the form of the spiritual master, that's quite an amazing point. But that's why a Guru is also called Shri Krishna, Krishna Kripa Murti, that the spiritual master is like a form of the mercy of Krishna. This is the way how Krishna gives the mercy to us. This is the way we become fortunate, that the Krishna sends us the spiritual master. So Krishna and the Guru, they are like a team, they work together. If Krishna sees that we are seriously, then Krishna gives us Guru, and Guru actually will be able to give us Krishna in this way. And I think whoever met a spiritual master has experienced this, has experienced how the spiritual master is able to understand our heart. And that's not surprising, because he's connected. He's not different from Paramatma. And when we hear the stories of Prabhupada disciples, how they met Prabhupada, there are so many incidences where Prabhupada actually could read the mind of devotees, isn't it? I'm sure we all know so many stories. Like on Monday there was of course it was appearance day of his Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but it was also the disappearance day of Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. And in his life also, as a young man, he actually renounced family life, and he was traveling through all over India, trying to find a guru. And he was traveling from south to north, I think for a whole year. But he understood the guru, a bona fide guru, he should be a devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He should be teaching from Srimad Bhagavatam, and he should spread the holy name. These three things. No? That's the bona fide guru. So he was looking for that guru. He could not find. All over India, he could not find a guru who is actually a devotee of Mahaprabhu, who is preaching the holy name and Bhagavatam. But when Gaur Govinda Maharaj came then to Vrindavan, to this place, then some Westerner, some devotee, gave him a Back to Godhead magazine. And there in the magazine, everything was there. No, there was Mahaprabhu, there was the holy name, there was Bhagavatam. So he knew, I have to meet this person. And when he wanted to see Prabhupada, actually Prabhupada's servant first didn't want to give him darshan because he looked a little bit like a Mayavad sannyasi, very dark orange clothes, and even as Prabhupada has no time. But then Prabhupada kind of asked him to come in, and the first thing Prabhupada asked him was, "Have you taken sannyas?" And then, "No." "Okay, I will give you sannyas." And then, that was the first conversation. It's quite impressive, first conversation. I don't know about you, but when I met my Guru Maharaj, there was a different subject matter, right? But Srila Gaura Gopinatha Maharaj later on commented that at that point he knew this is Paramatma. This is Satguru. He's a true Guru because he knows my heart. He directly sees my heart. So he was completely convinced. Prabhupada that's Paramatma who assumed a form. And as I said, there are so many stories. We can see how Prabhupada could understand the heart, could read the mind of devotees. And one particular story, I took some notes here. Let me see. Some of you may have heard it from Mahabodhi Prabhu from America. Mahabodhi, he just got to know about Krishna consciousness, and he heard about Prabhupada. So he thought, okay, let me go to the temple and let me see whether this person is actually a guru. So he came there to challenge Prabhupada. And he thought, if he is actually a guru, then 4 points he should fulfill. He has to be able to know the absolute truth, and he should also know the process how to achieve this absolute truth. That's quite reasonable, quite a good points. But then he said, but he should be able to read my mind, and he should be able to see the future. If he fulfills these 4 points, then I will accept him as my guru, otherwise not. So in this challenging spirit, he came, and the devotees invited him, okay, you can come upstairs to the room. And then he went into the room, and then the room was packed full with many devotees. So he sat down somewhere in the back, and they were all sannyasis, like the room was full of sticks, and I think 2 devotees in white, and he was the only person, like a new person. And Prabhupada was just singing a song, and finishing singing the song, and then Prabhupada looked around, then he saw him, and then he looked at him and just started to scream at him. "Why are you a miser? Why are you a miser? Why are you a kripana?" So he was shocked, he came to challenge Prabhupada, but Prabhupada immediately challenged him. And Prabhupada continued, if you have actually some abilities, but you don't engage them in Krishna's service, then you are a miser. Why are you wasting your life? You should become a brahmana. A brahmana is someone who knows the absolute truth. Absolute truth is Sri Krishna. And then he started to explain the process of bhakti, by one can achieve the absolute truth. So Mahabodhi was sitting there. My God, First of all, he could understand my mind because I was challenging. Now he speaks about the absolute truth, he speaks the process, but then he was thinking, well, but he has not yet predicted the future. He was still kind of holding on his challenging mood. He has not predicted the future. And as soon he had this thought in mind, Prabhupada immediately called, "Pradyumna, bring me my Bhagavatam." That is 10 commentaries of Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada opened 12th canto, the symptoms of people in Kali Yuga. People in Kali Yuga, men think they are beautiful by keeping long hairs. And Mahabodhi had like long curly hairs, And then he was completely smashed. And actually Mahabodhi, he left, he just ran out, and in his car he drove home, and he was still like, how is it, how can he call me miser, how? But then he finally understood, I'm defeated. This personality actually understood my heart, and he's actually a Satguru. So the next morning he went back, and he signed a $1,000 check and gave to the devotees. And the devotee said, "Oh, you can bring it personally to Prabhupada." No. I survived my first meeting. It's okay, you can just bring. And in this way, but he surrendered his life and became a devotee. So if a soul comes in contact with Guru, then that person is Bhagyavan Jiva. Then one is actually fortunate. If we meet such personality, a pure devotee of the Lord, then our life takes completely different direction. Completely different direction. The way we look at the world becomes completely different. Before we come in touch with Guru, we see the world and we think everything is meant for my own enjoyment. Like we have kind of a bhakti-yoga darshan. Whatever I see, it is for my enjoyment. But after coming in contact with such a devotee, pure devotee of the Lord, then our vision completely changes. And all of a sudden we start to see everything is meant for the service of the Lord. Sevya darshan. We start to understand actually whatever is there is meant to please and serve the Lord. And it's described in this text of Chaitanya Charitamrita that actually that bhakti lata bija, that seed of devotion, is planted in our hearts. And of course we understand that bhakti is already there, but what actually is planted is shraddha, is faith. Because when we come in contact with such pure devotees, then our faith is developed. It is some faith that was already there, but that faith will increase. Faith in Shastra, Sadhu and Guru. And by that faith, we can continue and become more and more advanced in our spiritual life. And so this means to be really fortunate. And as we have heard, Prahlad Maharaj is very fortunate, and Yudhishthir and the Pandavas are very fortunate, and we are also very fortunate because we came in contact with Srila Prabhupada and with our Guru Maharaj in the Parampara. But what about the others? What about others? Others are very unfortunate. It's described. Prayanalpa Yusha Sabya Kalasmin Yuge Janaha Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Uphiyapatrita. That again, this word Bhagya, Manda Bhagya. That means Manda means lazy or slow, in the sense they are unlucky, or we can say the fortune comes very slow. People in Kali Yuga, they don't have fortune. They are unfortunate because they don't have Guru. They have not come in contact with the pure devotee. And that's why Prabhupada's desire is that we actually help others to also become fortunate. And there is another incident, and with that I will conclude here. In a morning walk, some devotees in London, they were walking in a park, and they saw some hippies laying on the park benches, sleeping. And then Prabhupada kind of looked at them and said, if they are fortunate, they all can become Krishna conscious. If they are fortunate, they can all become Krishna conscious. And then I think Bhaja was it, who was walking with Prabhupada. He was singing, how is that by fortune? And then he kind of asked Srila Prabhupada after some time, Prabhupada, I understood that nothing happens by chance. No? Nothing is just whimsically happens. How is it that you say by fortune they can become devotees? How is that? Can you explain? And Prabhupada didn't say anything. Prabhupada just continued walking. Then at some point he turned around and looked Bhajahari directly in his face, and he took his stick, and with his stick he pointed towards him and said, we are their good fortune. No, we are their good fortune. And of course it's also Prabhupada's humility again. Prabhupada didn't say, I am their good fortune, but because I'm the Acharya and I have come to give them. But Prabhupada said, we are their good fortune. That means we, as followers of Srila Prabhupada, we are meant to give fortune to others because we are very fortunate. So we should preach, we should share whatever we got so that others also can become fortunate. So these are some thoughts on today's shloka, where we heard that not only Prahlad, but also the Pandavas are very, very fortunate. And now we can see whether there is some questions or some comments on what we heard today.
Also, Narada says that living entity is born to engage in the devotional service to
Right. That's a very important point. I'm not sure whether every one of you heard. What it actually means to give someone good fortune. It means to somehow or other engage them in devotional service. If they do a little service, or if they just appreciate. If you do a harinam and they just say, "Oh, these are nice people. They look so happy," or nice singing. Just if they just little appreciate, then actually their good fortune will start. Yeah. That's why we should always be present, spread Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Everybody is fortunate because they have Paramatma in their heart. Paramatma is concept in their heart. So everybody is fortunate, and many visitors they are coming. Many visitors they are coming and visiting the temple. So you see, they are all fortunate. They have some fortune. That's why they are coming and taking darshan. And many of them, they are those who are not coming. They are also fortunate because they have Paramatma in their heart. But they cannot recognize him unless Prabhupada said, you waken them. So if you go and waken them, automatically they will get the opportunity to serve Krishna.
Yes. As you said, everyone is fortunate because the Lord, Suridham Sarva Bhutanam, He is the well-wishing friend, and Krishna is in our heart, always with us, guiding us. The only problem is that often we don't hear Him. And actually, Prabhupada also says that for His devotees, Krishna is very personally guiding them, personally protecting them. But for the non-devotees, Paramatma remains silent. No. Of course, Paramatma, He is the observer, and He gives permission. But for the non-devotees, He remains silent. But if as soon we develop a desire to come closer, then Paramatma starts to actually act. But yeah, real fortune is when we meet someone who can teach us from out.
Also, people are coming to Vrindavan from different parts of India and different parts of the world to take darshan. They are fortunate, that's why they are coming.
Okay, you say because they're good fortune, they actually come to the temple also. Yeah. Of course, in India it's a little different. So many people, because whoever has taken birth in India, it's already fortune. It's actually already very special because you grow up in this environment and naturally you have some understanding, and then there's some desire. Let's go to the temple, So that's there. Some comments or something else? All right, then thank you very much. I also feel fortunate to be able to do this service. I understand that there are many more qualified speakers, but somehow I was given this chance to do this service, so thank you very much. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.